Here we are with these questions about my type. These are those 80 questions that are posted on PLC, so we are going to do it chronologically, logically, whatever, really. Something about this first group of questions, which obviously have something to do with logic and thinking. They weren't so tough, they were boring, yes, they were boring, but they were mostly easy to answer. Didn't require anything random or personal, some understanding on some micro level or something like that. Actually, quite like questions which are well defined like that. So, on to it, shall we? Let's move on to first group of questions. So, first group of questions is some sort of a standardized TI banking stuff. What can I say? So let's move on. First question asks, what's general? Does information flow from general to specific or from specific to general? What's my understanding of it? Etc. 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 See, I would like to immediately link this to the phenomenon known as micro macro, because it's how I understand it. And I always think that it flows from macro to micro. You have one big idea, I don't know, you have one big problem, and then you delineate various little problems which you tick, 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 and you finish them all at the time you finish them. To go from the specific to the general, or to infer something, or that inductive thinking, I think. Those fancy names elude me. To be quite honest, I'm not so good with that. You'll have to talk to someone else about that. See, why would I infer anything from a bunch of random things? It's much more comfortable and much more nice and sexy when it is nicely put together. Second question asks, what does logical mean? Does it confer to common thinking? Do most people think like that? Etc. 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 Logical thinking is when you break down a problem, doesn't matter which problem it is, whether it is emotive or logical or whichever problem really, and you break it down into small bits, like I've said before, from macro to micro, and you just mechanically eliminate one by one by one. And you often uh, spot weaknesses, strong points of your appearance, of your way of thinking, of your behavior, weaknesses within structural model of whatever you are trying to define, attack, defend, whatever. And that's that about logic. Does it is it normal for people to think like that? Well, depends on the person, really. Some do, some do not. Some are emotional, some are logical. Some are cold as, I don't know, as hot, really, cold as hot. Others are warm and scalding as Mustafar. What can I say? Third question. Explain the parts on the clock, those 5 o'clock, those stripes and stuff. Well, it is pretty, what can I say? They are parts of a clock. It's obvious. They, de- they, are, they are defined like that because they are like that. What do I know? Some ancient philosopher wanted it to be like that. It is. It could be 24 parts. It could be 37 and a half parts. What do I care? I don't know why. Fourth question states, what are rules? What rules should be followed? Or something like that. As you already noticed, I don't go letter by letter in these questions. I interpreted it by the core meaning. What are rules? Rules are things that some board of powerful men or whatever brought up, and they should be followed, I think. Or not. Those are laws. Rules are some points, logical, how you should do something, from the first point to the last point, from A to Z. And that's that. Like, if you have a strategy, you should begin, let's say in StarCraft, you should first build, I don't know, in StarCraft 1, you should first start building a pylon, then additional probes, then a pylon, then gateway, then whether Zealot Rush or whatever. Those are rules. You go like that, and you cannot bypass them. You cannot start by building a carrier. It does not work. Which rules should be followed? Rules that are unavoidable, and none other, because rules ought to be flexible. Just to get 1 point straight, they ought to be flexible. Next question, hierarchy. Should it be followed, upheld, and stuff like that? Hierarchy is closely related to SE, because it is like a pyramid like a chain of food in nature. It's on top of a few massively powerful people who oversee an untold zergs of common people, plebs, call it whatever you will. Should it be followed? No. Fuck. Hierarchy, it only stifles the creativity, it stifles everything. It's not my preferred way of organizing anything, because if you even have a Lamborghini Gallardo, why are you better than a bum on the street? Maybe that guy is better than you. Gallardo does not define you. Moving on. Instructions. Do I use them? Could I put a set of instructions? Well, I go pretty intuitively about stuff. I even did that when it was important about, I don't know, faculty and mathematics. I even linked it intuitively. There, I couldn't put in instructions even if my life depended on it, to be quite honest. Do I use them? Am I stupid if I don't know how to set up the application, let's say, a stove or a fridge or whatever? Really? Should I just fry because of fire in my building? Mix up the phases just because I didn't read them? That's just highly stupid. I couldn't have a brain. Do I agree with this? Freedom is in compliance to the law, not in the breaking of the same. No, and no. Everyone should be given a chance, and no one, but I literally mean no one, should be made to comply to anything. Very important. But it has to be mentioned that there are some general rules that ought to be followed, such as no sex on the corner of the street or some other horrible things like happen on Ibiza or Zurich or Mykonos. Those things are horrible, horrible. Ugh. Ugh. But everyone should have freedom. Within normal rules, of course. Eighth question. How consistent am I? Yeah, right. Moving on. That question is for Marcus. Ninth question. What is a standard? Is it necessary? Right. Now I will use a definition brought to you by OUP, Oxford University Press Dictionary itself. You know, because Oxford, where the oxen cross the river. Really advanced name, you have to agree. The standard is a level of quality or attainment within something. So it could be standard of living, those middle classes and stuff. It could be if you manage to attain something, like if you manage to attain, I don't know, some level of quality of something. That's standard. There's golden standard, which is something against which everything is measured against. There are those units at that museum in Paris, don't know its name. Those lead bars and stuff, which are the basic units of mass and like that stuff, against which everything is measured. Standards are necessary, yes they are, because how are you going to measure something? How are you going to say something is beautiful if you do not know what's ugly and what's the standard for something between it? How are you going to say this is light and this is heavy? How will you be able to say this is sexy and this is horrible? You will not be able to. Standards are absolutely necessary. And final question in this set of questions, I am required to do something. What are my feelings and my approach to it? Well, when I have to do something, I just plunge right into it. But truth be told, there is a period of almost subconscious organizing happening. I began to notice that in some last year or so. My feelings, well, let's get on with it. Why put it back? The longer you put it back, the harder it becomes. That's something I learned from my life in the harder way. Not smart thing to do. Next set of questions. Second set of questions is employment, work, job, efficiency, etc. based. Must be logic of efficiency, productivity, and such stuff. What some call TE. I call it just logic of efficiency. What's a job? No, what's a work? Why do people go to work? What are the parameters for execution of the said thing? Here is another definition brought to you from Soothsayers near Oxford. The job defined physically is the force on some path or W is F multiplied by S. It's also activity which includes mental and physical uh, uh, work towards some result. It's also activity that brings you money. Why do people go to work? I don't know. Do not ask me why some people go to work. I don't go to work because I'm a lazy bum. Because I'm unemployed, if you will. And you have to ask others why they go to work. It doesn't concern me why they go to work, but if I had to guess, which I do not like to do, I would say that they go because of money and nothing else. And that's quite sad, because people really, really ought to go to a work and be employed per day in the line which they enjoy, not just for money. Parameters, what do I know? Money earned, time invested, stress stuff. Okay. Second question, correlation between quality and quantity. And I'm expected to explain how the price is formed. Okay, correlation between quality and quantity is that fuck quantity, it's reserved for the Zerg, and Protoss just slaughter them. Never mind that they're from one and the same race. That didn't happen. Who told you that? Quality is always better, quality over quantity. Quality is when one unit is or able to do the workload of multiple units. Meanwhile, quantity is when you are required to use 20 units for the work of one quality unit. So you choose. How the price is formed? The price is formed based on the laws of the invisible hand, and on that is supply and demand, and other boring economical stuff that I will not bore you with right now. And then basically it's based on various parameters like quality, like supply, like demand, like design, like various stuff. Really, even the brand is important. That's why Nike costs 100 euros. Meanwhile, some other shoes on the local market cost 30 euros, but are even better, or at least equal. Figure that. Get those kicks. How do people determine the quality of work? Can you determine efficaciousness of a purchase? Lose my interest in it. I already said about quality of work because I implemented it in the first question. I'm sorry about that. So it's about mental energy, physical energy, etc. put into it, money and social status attained, and etc. How do I define it? I do not know. Who cares? Can you... So about the efficaciousness of the purchase, of course I can. I compare various things within the same category and measure quality. I always measure quality. Let's say with video cards, GFX cards, NVIDIA's and ARTIS, you know. ARTIS, AMD ARTIS, that was always known by its price-efficient approach, and meanwhile NVIDIA was known by pricey, very good quality things. So I measure what I need, and when I know what I need, I just measure how much money something costs, and I measure various options, and that's that. Does it interest me? Of course it interests me, because why would I purchase an 980 Ti if I could purchase an AMD ATI, which is slightly less powerful, but 25% or so cheaper, and there are no games which require 918. Anyhow, fourth question. How do I feel when I don't finish a job? I do not like leaving unfinished jobs. It's just not alright towards other people. A person really ought to finish his job. Shouldn't be just hanging around. Fifth, explain interesting job. I cannot. Because I do not know what's interesting to me. Some kind of a communication or something related to games or to communication between people or something like that. I'm not really certain. Sixth, how would you define fairness of the price? Or whatever the question is. Something in this way. Well, the price is fair, given that they are weighed fairly against the law of the invisible hand, and nothing else. So, if the supply is X and demand is Y and the quality is Z, that's the price it ought to be. Nothing less, nothing more. And that's that by the fairness of price. It's fairly easy to define. Seventh question. A banker comes and says you are not doing as you should, or whatever you should. My reaction is, who are you to tell me what to do and how to do? Unless you are actually some kind of a professional, you're better than me, you can teach me something about it, then it is more than all right to interject. But if you are some random banker, stay away. Fucking pleb. Eighth question. Someone is doing something better than me. What are my thoughts, feelings, actions? So, if there is a person who does something better than me, I already said this and I always stand by it, you should ask that person, what are you doing wrong? And what are you doing right? You should ask him to teach. Because he obviously knows stuff and his job. My feelings are that I'm essentially inferior, and they are not pleasant, and I sincerely doubt that anyone's emotions in this situation are pleasant. But if you are to grow professional, if you are to grow as a person, you really, really ought to ask him for help. What are you doing wrong? What are you doing right? There is no shame in asking a pro what is wrong within your, I don't know. Let's take some obvious example. What's wrong within your build order mid process? Nothing wrong with that. Ninth question. How do I feel when I have to ask someone for help with a job? I told it just now. It's not a nice emotion. It's not ugly either, but it is necessary. Necessary. and I must say it again, necessary. Because don't go round and round and round and round doing nothing. Nothing at all. Really banking. Just swallow your pride and ask for help. And know it's a horrible feeling, but it's how the legends are born. 10th question. It's kind of silly actually. I've been given a chance to build a pyramid actually. So which are my feelings, emotions, actions? First off, I am very, very, I wouldn't say proud, but people trust me and they want to let me build my pyramid, like Mikarin or Khufu or someone like that. Who am I when compared to them? Who am I when compared to Tutankhamun or someone like that? It's really, really sexy feeling when people trust you enough to let you build your own skyscraper or a castle or a schloss or a pyramid, if you will. My actions are to organize it, to organize the workforce, to start working immediately. And the emotions are awesome. So, that's that about these two logical, and thinking part. Stay tuned for the next time and some weird stuff plus some quite awesome tank and aircraft incursion action. Right, that's that. Bye bye.